However, though that claim was false, others will follow. Some underground baby cloning movements have already been surfacing. Whether the appetite for money and fame or just man's natural curiosity, scientists will inevitably keep trying to open the Pandora's box. Now human cloning has become more a question of when than of if. The Hollywood movie The Sixth Day tells the story of cloned man. It's a possibility that fires imaginations, and such science fiction tales are many. Many see these movies as a preview of things inevitably to come. Ever since Dolly, the cloned sheep, made her public debut in 1997, scientists, politicians, and ethicists have been wringing their hands over the prospect that it will be possible to clone humans too. Chinese scientist Pei Xuejian believes it will be, but says it's still a long way off.
Merely from the technical standpoint, it's possible to clone a human embryo in the future, but currently the techniques are not advanced enough. Following Dolly, many other species of animals have been cloned. Some of them died along the way, and others suffered complications later in life. The techniques used to clone animals are still not very mature, let alone to clone human beings. But technically, it is possible.
Welcome back to Dialogue. Well, Professor Cho, one of the other arguments for both the supporters and the opponents of this therapeutic cloning research is that they're talking about something called slippery slope.
Yeah.
Some argue that after the legal therapeutic research is done, then stockpiles of stem cells will be produced, and that might lead to a situation that no one knows how they are going to be used.
Yeah.
And eventually, it will lead to reproductive cloning.
Yeah.
What is your take on this? Is that a real danger?
Yeah. When we talk about the slippery slope, for example, we say slippery slope from A to B. That is in the case that the two things, A and B, are conceptually similar or identical. For example, we talk about euthanasia or the physician-assisted suicide. These two things are very similar. But very easily, from the euthanasia, slip to the physician-assisted suicide. But just I mentioned above that, the concept of the reproductive cloning and the therapeutic cloning is conceptually different. First. Second, in practice, in practice, it's possible. So we should have some regulation to control it.
So what kind of regulations?
Yeah, I think the regulating is about the 1 year, so we very explicitly to ban or prohibit the reproductive cloning. Like I think the British law is very, very, very clear that if you do reproductive cloning, you will be violating the law. You will be criminal.
Maybe we should let our Dr. Rayner tell us a little bit more about these regulations. As far as we know, there is a special watchdog in the UK governing or administering the experiments about cloning. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think the purpose of the body is to ensure that the research that's being carried out is ethically correct and is beneficial to mankind. So there was a very clear set of rules that were laid out in a law that was passed in the 1990s when the potential for cloning was becoming obvious as something that was going to happen. And these guidelines say that the research must be for the purpose that it's going to be beneficial to mankind. So these are for research on things like serious diseases, and I think.
And certainly they issue licenses, as we mentioned earlier.
Yes, but it's and as you said, they've issued 2 licenses, but it's by no means a simple process of getting the licenses. You have to be showing, as I said before, you have to be showing why you're going to be doing the research and how it's going to be of benefit. And then throughout the research, there's going to be accountability for how you've used the embryos. And this is something that is not quite the same thing. But when people do research with animals, there's been a lot of tightening down in terms of how you use animals. Again, if you're going to use animals in research, you have to have a very good reason for using them, and you have to show how you use the animals and how the research benefits from the use of those animals. And if you can't justify that, then you're not going to be able to do research using animals. And it's the same kind of approach that's worked well there, where people have to show the same justification.
Well, the chairman of the advisory body for the Bush administration's on the bioethics actually cited, that's him, cited the reason why they are against therapeutic cloning is because they think there's a big potential in this technology. And eventually, he even gave a very scary example that one day he said, society might just grow human beings for spare body parts or as custom-designed children. Do you think there's a danger like that, Dr. Rayner?
I don't think anything like that could ever happen in America. We've already seen how conservative America is, and even if America got to the point where it would allow therapeutic cloning, there will be the same guidelines in place, keeping a track of what scientists are doing. And there were many scientists in America who were very pro therapeutic cloning. Within Texas, where I was originally working, I came here to China from. There, at my university, there were 5 Nobel Prize winners who wrote to President Bush indicating their opposition to the president's stance. So I don't see that's something could ever happen in many countries because of the guidelines that would have to be in place before any type of research like that was performed.
How about you, Professor Cho, from your professional view?
I know that we have to distinguish the different things. One thing is that we create embryo, then we take some stem cell from it and develop to all kind of the cell, tissues, even organs for treatment. This is one thing. Another thing is we use this technology to produce a child, then use a part of the child, organ tissues, to other people, for other people. These different things. On the former, we have no reason to against it. Why? This is benefit to the millions of people.
We see, gentlemen, that in the arguments for both sides, a lot of people use potential, possibility, or what if. Is there a standard in our science circle how to deal with those possibilities or what ifs? Is there a standard among the scientists?
Well, I think that's part of research, really.
It's kind of a hypothetical question.
That's one of the reasons you're doing research, and you're trying to sort of you're saying, well, what if I did this? What would be the end result? So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking an attitude, either for someone who's trying to argue the case against therapeutic cloning or the case for therapeutic cloning. I think it's very good that there is a stimulated discussion. Going back to the case in England, the government lost a lot of faith with the people in general a few years ago with the mad cow disease, when there were rumours going around. People said that there were these cows that were getting sick, and the government repeatedly told the population there was nothing to worry about, that the government knew what was going on, and they would take care of it. And it finally came out that there was a problem and that the people had been eating infected meat. So then subsequently, when the case of transgenic crops came up, and there was a lot of feeling about that, the government learned from that, and they had a much more open discussion where they had both people who were vehemently opposed to the process and people who were very strongly in favor of it. And these people were involved the whole way through. And I think that's a very good way of doing it, and I hope that many countries take that approach when they're trying to decide their stance.
So here comes another question that is related to what we just asked. What is the freedom scope for a scientist? How much freedom should a scientist have?
Again, I know I keep coming back to this. I think there must be accountability for the research you do. You should be answerable to some authority to make sure that there's somebody watching what you do. Not only because of the ethical considerations, but it could be a danger to the population as a whole. My original background is in physics, and we did work with radiation and with very powerful radiation sources. And we had people watching over us to make sure we weren't doing something stupid. So I think we have very good freedom to do research, and I think overall common sense prevails when we have to answer to committees and so on to answer what we're doing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.